Cristóbal and Daniel Segura. They were chefs. They had a very successful career as chefs in LA and in New York. And suddenly one day they decided to go back to Mexico and start something from scratch and leave everything behind and start a project called Ruta Segura, which is it's a food project. They develop menus and they sell their products from the things that they grow. Daniel, Cristobal, thank you for the time, and I understand that you're really busy with all the things that you're doing, and I mean there are a lot of things on your plate. In this, I mean, it's a good metaphor for the case. Yes. Daniel and Cristobal, why don't you tell me, because before telling the people what you do, I would like you to introduce yourselves and tell me, what do you do? I mean, you are both in food and you are chefs. And what were you doing before you started with this project?
Well, I was, before I moved here, I was living in the United States, in Seattle. I was doing a course on winemaking. And I was working in a taco shop in a bar and living with my girlfriend at the time. We were both cooks. And before that, we had been living in New York City, working in restaurants as well. I worked in a Canadian steakhouse, and before that in a Mexican restaurant called Cosme, as well as a prep cook and a receiver and later a line cook and all kinds of different like kitchen jobs. And I decided to move back to Mexico, got a little tired of the whole restaurant scene in the US, and then just decided to come back to Mexico. And then this just came up a little improvised as a kind of a sort of a pandemic project.
Pandemic project. I was living just before this. I was living in LA, working as a private chef for another big chef over there, and we both started school in New York, studied there culinary arts, but dropped out quite soon after we entered, and we started working both in Cosme. That was our school. We learned through work and through cooking, which is.
You were working with Olvera, no? With the chef, no?
For a brief time, yeah.
Uh-huh.
We both worked,
not directly, but for his company.
For his company,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you came back.
Yeah. We both came back to Mexico at the beginning of last year, around January. Different situations, but we both ended up back in Mexico City at the same time. And I think we were both not really excited about being there at all.
Mexico City has always been a little bit too much for us. The energy, the air, the quality of air, the whole scene is very overwhelming. And we both had dreamed for a long time of maybe one day having a little patch of grass where we would grow our veggies and do our crazy shit. And we were at a point where we both didn't have much in mind other than that. And we were coming to Oaxaca to travel with a friend who wanted to invest in property here. And we were going to travel with him. And then after that, we both had very different plans. But the pandemic hit just while we were waiting for our friend. Our friend never came. And we ended up feeling that the best thing we could do with the rest of a very weird year and very uncertain year was to do at least in a small scale our dream, to make it true and to start working and learning through work, like we learned in cooking, and start experimenting with growing different things and learning from our mistakes, because we've fucked up so many times with so many things. But the more we're here, the more we see every failure as a door to learn, and an opportunity to keep on growing and to keep on experimenting, because you have to do, as you do recipes 10, 20 times until you get it right, and every time is different, and every time you learn different things. The same is with soil, with every compost you make, with every chicken you raise, with every ferment you experiment with. It's that process of learning through experimentation and through failure, and in a very empirical way, because I don't see myself sitting down hours on Zoom taking classes. Much rather be let the experience be the teacher, and be open to learning, which has been more of what we've focused these last couple of months on doing, creating more spaces where we're experimenting and pushing ourselves a little bit to work a little bit more, and to make more things happen. And that has been the last six months of being here in Oaxaca.
And how did you plan the whole thing? How was the
Well,
thing?
the first thing we found here was a little trailer, like the ones they use in like construction sites for like an office, but here it's like a little apartment, and it was just on a flat 600 square meter property with a little fence, and there was nothing on it, just the dirt, and it was really hard packed. And we came here and we saw it, and we were like, this is perfect because there's nothing here. We can
Very impoverished land, very deteriorated, and very dry. 3 years of droughts previous to our arrival, and the year we arrived, we got really lucky and started raining. The main thing that caught our eye was that it was very empty. There was no intention of the owner of coming back. She wanted to rent it for a long time, so that made us feel safe, in that nobody wanted to kick us out after a year, because a project like this you have to invest a little bit more time. And then we had a well, 13 meters well, which gives us plenty water, and
so it was really well set up to just
start
moving and start growing. And the first thing we started doing was
shade,
compost,
shade. Because there was no shade at all. The first thing we did was put the posts over eventual shade that now we enjoy every day.
Yeah.
But first, the intention was to make ourselves at home. We both didn't have anywhere to live other than our mom's place in Mexico City, and we didn't want to be in Mexico City. So the first thing was make ourselves feel at home. We started with 10 chickens, a couple of veggies, and started getting a little bit more excited about seeing how easy it is in a place where everybody else is doing basically the same thing, because all our neighbors have animals, or all our neighbors have veggies. They all exchange their food. We exchange with our neighbor milk and eggs and atole, and there was already a lot of infrastructure to execute a project like this, and so many people to learn from and to look after. No,
I think the idea pretty much came to us because of the place, because we had a slight idea that we wanted to do something like this, but when we moved in, we realized that the whole community here in Santo Domingo, especially our next door neighbors, are very welcoming and very open to helping. So right away we realized that many of the things that we wanted to do were very easy to make happen because a lot of people could help out with tools and materials and knowledge and tips and a little bit of organic matter to start our compost and knowledge about the rains and everything. And we just like, I remember when we were trying to build the roof on our little outdoor kitchen, we wanted to do it with a special kind of well, it's called carrizo, it's like bamboo here, and we wanted to cut it right away because we were very impatient. We wanted our shade, and they told us no, you have to wait for a full moon to cut your bamboo because if you don't, it'll rot. So we had everything has been experimental, a little improvised, and based on what's available here, like in terms of materials and in terms of knowledge and in terms of someone that can help us, because we only have a motorcycle here that we use to buy our food and our feed for the animals and everything, but we depend on help from others to make everything happen.
Today we went for sawdust to finish our chicken coop, and we were saying how important it has been throughout the whole process of making this project happen. The importance of our friends' cars, who've been abused and stuffed, like so many wood, so much wood, rocks, material, even poo, like cow manure.
Everyone that comes is like, lend me your car to pick up 200 kilos of cardboard boxes from. So I'm like, thank you. Yeah,
it could not have been possible without the community we're surrounded. Definitely, that for sure. And the idea to start producing food that we sell came recently.
Yeah, we just started doing it like 2 months ago.
We started doing it very, very recently. We both cooked for a long time, but we were both a little bit tired of cooking in the restaurant scene. But we seeing how the world is and how it is organizing as well. It was hard to get a job doing it. So it make no sense if we both were feeling tired about cooking in a kitchen. Trying to get a kitchen job on the middle of the pandemic was pointless. And we decided we both wanted to farm full time, but it's really hard to farm full time and not tell anything,
Yeah.
You have to move the product, and if you start producing more, there's somebody that has to eat all that. Other than that, if you're eating beans every single day for 3 months like he did not so long ago.
Yeah, because we didn't know how to grow, so we just threw a bunch of seeds on the land, and the land is very generous here, but only beans grew. Everything else didn't grow.
The beans colonized the whole field.
We didn't have any money for food, and we couldn't really sell the beans because everybody here grows them. So we were like, well, I'm just gonna eat the beans every day. So I did all kinds of different things with the beans. I gave it to the chickens. I gave it to the rabbits. I ate them myself. Well, we ended up giving them to the pigs even later, some ones that we fermented because we had so many beans. And that was it. I lost like 10 pounds.
The soil is going to have a lot of nitrogen, so it's going to be very fertile.
Yes, yes,
definitely. Yes.
That's the idea. We're planning a more diverse horticulture project now because we don't want to be eating so much of the same thing.
Now we have enough compost to actually build our beds and grow lettuce and tomato and different things.
Yeah, we have a lot of compost. We started with the animals are the ones that give us all the fertility, and we have
and us because we have a dry toilet as well.
Yeah.
So one of the first thing we built, we had the decision that the bathroom inside the trailer didn't work, and we had to make the decision of fixing it or building a dry one outside. And we had just learned about dry toilets, And so we decided to build one outside, and we use that as compost and treat it and pasteurize it, and then use it in our compost and use it as a fertilizer as well. So everybody contributes.
Everybody contributes, and we started with 10 chickens, and now we're full house. So it's 33 chickens. It's how many rabbits? It's like 12 rabbits.
Okay.
12 rabbits.
Two pigs, 3 lambs,
Wow.
108 chickens, 3 dogs, and 1 rooster.
So it's really full house. It's full house.
It's definitely a full house.
Because it's only 600 square meters, so it's not a lot of.
It's not a lot of space, but everybody has their patch of grass where they can run. The way
we occupy the nearby land that
has been
is
abandoned,
or people don't come here very often. We have
I'm going to show you the chicken tractors.
Yeah,
that is where we put our chickens, and this is all the land they have for being moved every day. And
we decided to invest in mobile structures for our animals because we don't have enough space inside. So if anybody comes and is like, hey, get these animals off my land, we just move the structure and put it in somebody else's land and wait until they come. But the animals are very generous because they maintain the land and they prevent the bad weeds from taking over.
Also, they fertilize, they scratch and oxygenate the soil. We're occupying spaces that aren't ours, but we're leaving a good green thumb print in land, which makes us feel less guilty.
which is also like there's like this idea of that the animals are really like creating they're damaging the soils and the environment, but that's not true. I mean, it's what you said. No, they like fertilize. They help to maintain the soil. I like that. No?
Of course, depending on how you manage. Saying that the cows are the ones creating most of the damaging gases in the atmosphere, it's very irresponsible, and it's washing our hands very easily. The thing is not the cow. The thing is us managing cows like they should not be treated, and that with all the animals. Every animal has instincts and needs, and if you treat those needs, you start realizing those needs help and procure the needs of the soil, of the earth. If you see how ruminants graze on the prairie, you see that they are moving. They're not stuck in a little 1 by 1 square, It's something that they're moving, and they're leaving a trace of fertility, and they're helping soil to regenerate. And every time they come back, the soil has given new grasses so that they can eat. If you manage to mimic that with the animals, you have every year. And the idea with that patch of grass I just showed you, which is empty, is to seed bomb after the chickens have moved, and start putting water so that we have every year a little better pasture. And eventually, when we leave, that pasture is going to be there for whoever occupies that patch of grass after us.
Yeah,
which is nice, because then you leave back something good for the community, because we are not from here. We're so white. Everybody thinks we are Amish, and nobody thinks we're from Mexico, which is really funny. It's
people don't believe us at the market. We go buy fruit
every day. We're
like, where are you from? We're like, we're Mexican. They're like, nah, that's not true. And we show them our IDs. And they're like, nah, that's fake.
Not even that. Not even that convinces them, which is
Yes, because
really fun.
that was one thing that I was going to ask you, because I mean, you told me about the relationship with the community and how you like do that, like this exchange of goods, and but how's in general the community, how did they receive you? I mean, was it easy? Was it hard? Are there like
Well,
because yeah.
we I think they were very welcoming. We were very lucky because our next door neighbor, the guy back here, and his family,
whose house like literally is
yeah,
over there.
they became really good friends really fast, and they have been here for 20 years almost. And he told us like, just whoever you run into, just tell them I'm your uncle, and then everybody knows him. And we're like, okay.
He
And
works
he introduced us for everyone, and that made it very easy. But in general, people are very welcoming, and if you're interested in the land and the animals and the food and a little bit of the culture here, they don't have any. They're very generous with their time. They don't have any trouble chatting with you and showing you around and contacting you with whoever sells the best wood, or going to the best place to buy the tools and the
or the tortillas
or the food.
or the food. Where to buy the best food? The thing is, I believe that the Oaxacan people are very, very proud of their culture, because it's a very, very beautiful, rich culture. And if you come with an open mind to learn and to present yourself with the energy of learning, they are so welcoming, and they show you everything, and they open their worlds to you. But when you try to impose or pretend that you know more than they do, or what you have is more valuable, they feel that immediately, and they will not welcome you at all, because the community next to us, it's full of gringos who come and buy their houses, and want to do,
or Europeans, or rich Mexicans,
or rich, a lot of rich
whoever.
Mexicans.
They just come, and we have this notion that you can buy land, which is very weird because you can't really buy land, but people think that you can buy land, and then whatever you do, it's up to you. And that's a little weird, because if you're not from here and you come here and you buy land and you think you can do anything in that land and you think you deserve everything, then
the community will make you pay, because it's a very tight community, and
because things have been working. I mean, there's been people here for thousands of years in these valleys, in this region of Oaxaca, for a good reason, and there's no reason to come and impose something else. So I think if you're calm about it, and if you have time and patience to see how things work around here, and then just try to adapt to that and do whatever you want in that way, then it's probably the best place that I can think of to live here in Mexico.
Also, much of the land that there is, it's part of the community's wealth. So
yeah, it's a commons land.
It's a commons land. So there is that culture, and even though now everything has sort of turned into private property, there's still a lot of places which are shared. So there is a very strong sense of community. So you have to be very, very cautious, especially coming from Mexico City, where we're alienated from sharing anything with our neighbors.
We don't even know who lives next door.
We don't know who lives. We really live like that. In big cities, I believe that's like generalized. It's very hard to get to know your neighbors in the way we've got to know Baltasar for a year. We haven't been here more than a year, and we're already like super tight friends. Every day we go to his house, to his tool shed, and grab a tool that we don't have, and he's like, yeah, no problem, and like helping us out with so many things. We go out for breakfast on Sundays, and it's that I had never had with any neighbor living anywhere else. That's the type of community there is around us, which also much easier doing a project like this, where you need a community that helps you and that approves you and that is willing to help you create a better space for yourself and for the community, because at the end, whatever we're doing here affects our neighbors and vice versa.
It's probably the obvious, but what you did is very, I mean, could be considered like really very radical, no? From where you grew up and then studying abroad and living in big cities like New York and LA. I mean, you're not saying that you're coming from a small village in the mountains and then you decided to go, no?
Definitely not.
To be like
nobody that we grew up with does something like this, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope more people move out of the city and start growing food. I mean, that's basically what I want to see.
the one of the tough realities I learned in LA, and that was probably the big thing I learned, was to work for some of the richest people on earth and see how miserable they are, and just realizing I don't need that much money to be as miserable. I can be miserable just with a little bit of money, and actually I'm going to be much happier, because most of the problems people have is because either you want to make more money, you lost some money, or you have a money related problem. And the less you have, the less problems you will have. Living in the biggest cities, having all the luxury and all the opportunities to do everything except this, which you have to sort of renounce to all the wealth that comes with living in a city. But for me there's very, very little losses on a scale, you know. It's much healthier, sustainable life in so many levels, and I feel much better living in this gorgeous land than to be cramped in Mexico City air.
Also, I mean,
Yeah.
coming from the city and coming from a position of privilege, because we have a lot of privilege of, you know, being able to go to a private school and travel and then have opportunities abroad and make money. It's less of a risk for us to come here and farm than it is for a lot of people. But a lot of people with the privilege, sometimes they are so invested in that, I think, like trying to have more or I don't know,
achieve a very city lifestyle full of material goods. A lot of people here are aspiring for that, not realizing what the value of what they already have is.
Yeah.
And us coming from that reality, I feel we both realized there was very little for us, and in my personal opinion, for humanity, investing all your energy into material goods when there is some richness coming out from the land and from the relationship you build with it. And it is much easier to keep a low carbon footprint in a place like this. We send out a little trash can every month instead of 3-4 bags every week. Just that is a massive change in our life without doing much, but moving from one place to another. But realizing how rich life can be and how full of surprises, of magical moments throughout the day, in the relationship with the animals, in the relationship with your plants, with the community, between us. It has been beautiful how we started like building a even stronger relationship, because we grew up very, very close, but having so much time to enjoy the community we're building here, and really feeling at home and really feeling safe, even though the pandemic has changed everybody's life. And much of the people who we know are still in the city living horrible realities, worried so much and spending so much energy in worrying about the getting the disease. And here it is really a very slight chance that we're gonna get it, because we don't see nobody. We're basically in our trailer with our animals outside every day.
We do a home office.
We do home office, which I think a lot of people are already doing. And what I tell every friend I have in the city, the same money you're spending in rent to work in your computer, you could spend in renting a little house up here, growing your veggies, and still working on distance. You don't have to be in the city with all the city problems that now with COVID is even worse. But trying to make our mom come and live here, that's my main concern.
But that was the last question that I had. How, I mean, your family, I mean, I know your family and family and friends, what do they say? Why do they tell you? I mean, you're crazy, you're nuts. I mean, or are they excited? I know that they support you. I mean, but really, what do you feel is the reaction of the people, of your people, your family?
I mean, most friends that have come find it really interesting. They love the place. They have a lot of questions, and a lot of people really like to spend time here. With our mom, it hasn't been that easy because she's always questioning the reason why we're doing the things we're doing. So, for example, with the toilet, like I was saying, instead of fixing the toilet inside, we decided to build one outside. And instead of fixing the shower inside, we build one outside and we use the toilet and the bathroom as a grain storage for our feed for our animals. And our mom couldn't really understand the reason. And she was insisting on giving us money, so we fixed the toilet so that she could go to the bathroom inside. And we're like, Mom, that's never gonna, not because of money. It's because we believe that we can do way more things with
our manure.
So that has been an issue. And still, when she comes, she goes to the toilet in our neighbor's house.
What we don't understand is why we in cities are still taking a shit on clean water. The thing is, it's a mindset. When you're in the city, you would never dare to shit on a bucket. But when you're on the fields, it makes all the sense in the world because you need that manure. If in the city, you're not gonna do anything with that manure, other to be stuck with
you could.
But you could. And you could, and that's the thing. We told our mom, you could put a bathroom like this and your roses will be more beautiful. But definitely people from older generations are very amazed, and they see it as a very radical, very daring challenge to take. And most of our close community is very proud of us, but still they're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're crazy. But then a lot of friends who are a little bit younger, I feel there is some of them, not all of them, but who are inspired, and something within, I think, starts burning, realizing that our generation grew up listening that we were the generation of the change. And one way or another, I do feel a little bit of pressure of realizing that the world is not looking on its best, and we have to make radical changes. So it is radical, but it is necessary to make this change in our lifestyle and in the way we consume food, we produce food. Also, coming from the restaurant industry, you see so much waste and you see so much so little realizing from the cooks how work has been put in what you're cooking with, and then even worse from whoever's eating it, because you eat half of your burger and you're like, nah, I didn't like this, and you send it back. But what had to happen in order for you to have that burger, it is insane. And we both had strong feelings about not being able to close those circles in the kitchen. And the more we're here, the more we feel how much we were missing that. And you start valuing food differently, you start valuing life differently, you see death very differently. We're going to sacrifice our goat tomorrow, and we're our lamb tomorrow, and we're both getting ready emotionally, because coming from a city, you'd never have to confront yourself with these situations. ¿Qué huele, Balta?
It's pretty
Our
tough,
neighbor.
no? I mean, deciding that, deciding that is pretty tough, no? Like at the moment of sacrificing an animal, I guess that
It's very
Yeah.
it's very rough. And
And you develop
a bond, no?
a bond. Yeah, because
with all our animals, we're very close, and they all have names, and we pet them every day. We have a relationship with them, and we grew up seeing animals as pets, but then eating your meat without complaints, and not realizing that your pet is basically your meal. And
yeah, when we moved here, we started eating a lot less meat. Well, at
a
least
lot less meat. Yeah. No, me too. And you see how our neighbors treat their animals, and there's still a very respectful relationship, but
some of it.
with some of them. But the way they approach death and how they execute and sacrifice their animals, they do it without much complaint, because they grew up doing that. It has been part of their life, and of their parents' life, and of their grandfather's life for many generations. And it is very beautiful to be a part of that also. I was talking with my mom today about that, how it is only a part of a whole structure, of a whole system, and it is necessary for it to keep on going. Without death, life does not go on. And also with us, you start realizing that you are an animal as well. You're going to die, and in order for life to keep on going, you have to part. We're only here for a little while, and that's you start seeing in so many processes around you. It's a life and death cycle, and we're just part of it. And you start also, for me, it's very important what we do after we sacrifice the animals, and how we're to celebrate their lives through cooking and through sharing. And that is also a huge part of the project, to celebrate life throughout cooking, which is what we know already how to do.
Sounds amazing. That's very good. No, and the very last question. Sorry, I told you that the previous one was the last question.
No.
Right now, what's from what you eat, what's the percentage of your food is produced by you, more or less?
Well, it depends, because sometimes we spend a long periods of time away from here. Because what we try to do is one of us stays here, and the other one travels and sells the food and whatever we have to do outside of Oaxaca. When I was here by myself in the summer, in the growing season, I would say about 30% the things I ate were grown here, and then maybe 10 or 20% were bought from our neighbors, and then the rest would be bought at the local market,
which is food from around,
which is
nearby.
Exactly, it's from the same community, from the same environment.
Most of it,
Yeah.
not Well, yeah.
The thing is that what percentage comes from the project to our plates, it depends on the season. Right now it's dry season, and we have very few veggies, no fruit, because we've been here for a year as well. Soil was very
We
deteriorated,
don't have the hens right now.
so no
Well, when
eggs.
we had the hens, we had the eggs, so that's a huge part of our diet. When we have the hens are laying.
In the summer, we grew corn, pumpkin, beans, many other veggies, and then we can eat more. But most of the fruits comes from the local market. There's a couple of fruit trees around the area that we forage, and we try to eat as much coming from the surroundings. But when you have to get oil, when you have to get sugar, when you have to get salt, there's no room to wiggle there.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
Sounds amazing. No,
but still there's many local businesses, small local businesses that sell all that. So you're at the end, the community is providing for the community, still in bigger quantities than in the city.
It sounds amazing. Thank you very much. And it's amazing what you're doing. I mean, it's
I hope you can come. You can come to Mexico soon.
For us, it's very important to open our doors to people and share it. And what I told you, it's something that many people feel inspired, and if coming here inspires somebody to maybe do a compost or to grow tomatoes, that's more than enough.
I would love to, because we've been talking a lot about you, and we're very like amazed of what you're doing, and I think it's spectacular. Thank you.